AMD. I did a very in-depth AMD video on the main channel last night called Keep Buying AMD and Don't Stop. Oh boy, was it interesting reading the comments. As a pretty new AMD shareholder, right? It's interesting to see how bad the sentiment is from the AMD investor base. Oh, it was brutal. I mean, just a lot of people talking about, I'm selling this stock in the morning. I'm finally done with this stock. I can't put up with it anymore. It's advanced money destroyer. AMD sucks, right? Look at the top comment. AMD will make millionaires out of billionaires, right? Which is actually pretty funny. But that just goes to show you the sentiment is brutal right now in regards to AMD. People are done with this stock. They're fed up with it. They're sick of it, right? And I'm a new investor getting in the stock, and I'm buying my shares right now, and I'm like, oh man, is this party really this bad? Like, what's going on here? Because I think the party's going to be pretty dang good, right? I have some big stuff to share with you guys. I listened to a conference call last night. Oh my gosh, did Lisa Su share some massive things that people have no clue, like, went on in that conference call. I'm talking, these aren't like small little things here and there. No. These are game changing for AMD's business model forever. So we're going to go through that in this video. I want to react to that, okay? In the private stock group, this was kind of hilarious. Somebody did a poll. How many AMD shares will Jeremy had today? Below 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 200, and more than 200. 43 people in the private group actually ended up voting on that. And I did do something with AMD stock. And so we'll go over that in this video here today, okay? Additionally, we will go through my AMD projections in this video. I will go through my bull case, my bear case, and my base case with you guys in this video and show you exactly what I believe AMD stock price will go to over the next several years, okay? Which, by the way, on 1000xstocks.com, got something very exciting for you guys. We just added in where you can now have your bull case, base case, and bear case all on the same page. Whereas before you could just do one at a time, you had to, get ready your numbers and whatnot. Now you can do all three cases all on one page. Just makes it way easier for everybody. And oh, by the way, we're working on a little advanced projections as well. Oh yeah, can't really talk too much about that. And I know a lot of you guys have been wanting access to 1000x and me to do a deal, because it's been quite a while since I did a deal. I'll do a one-day sale February 14th for it, okay? One-day sale. You guys can thank Palantir stock for that. It's got me in pretty good spirits, to say the least, and Meta stock. Those two stocks are, man, they're making me some money. So we'll do a one-day sale on 1000x. It'll be February 14th, 8 days from now. Pin comment down there. You can enter in your info for that. Then I want to go ahead and react to a few videos here. First one up here. Meta is finally positioned to surpass Google McDougal. Seems like it's had a long time coming in regards to that. And now we could be talking about Meta passing Google McDougal. AMD's disappointing data center outlook. I want to go ahead and react to this from Wall Street. We're speaking about AMD. And then this one, AMD's fatal mistake. Looking forward to getting into that one in this video here today as well. So appreciate y'all joining me as always. All I need from you guys, one thing only, smash that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed here to the channel. We have, how many subscribers now? 76,000, I think. Like, it just keeps going up and up and up, and we're going to be silver play button before you know it here, okay? Alrighty, here's the first massive thing that happened on that conference call. This was huge. So Lisa Su's talking about, data center business in kind of the run rate there, 5 billion, right? She says actually now we're over 5 billion. And as we go into 2025, I think our guidance will be more at the segment level with some color, as some qualitative color as to what's going on between the two businesses. And relative to your question about long-term growth rates, you're absolutely right. I mean, I believe the demand for AI compute is strong. And we've talked about data center accelerator TAM, total addressable market, upwards of $500 billion by the time we get out to 2028. It's just in a few years from now, folks. I think all the recent data points which suggest that there's strong demand out there. Without guiding to a specific number in 2025, one of the comments that we made is that we see the business growing to tens of billions as we go through the next couple of years. So we're talking about business that recently has been at about a $5 billion run rate. And now we're talking about in the next couple years, taking it to tens of billions, which tens of billions is anywhere between $20 billion, right, and $90 billion. So even if it's 20 billion in a couple years, that's amazing. Let's be very, very crystal clear about that. Never mind if it's 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years, like those are just astronomically high numbers. So that right there gives me all the confidence in the world about what's going on here. But it gets better. MI350 series is stronger and addresses a broader set of workloads, including inference as well as training. Because you got to understand, MI300 in the market right now, that's getting the ball rolling for AMD, but this is not the Super Bowl time for AMD. This is not the big game. The game starts with MI350. And then when we start talking about the Super Bowl, that's MI400. And then we get into MI400 series. We see significant traction and excitement around what we can do there with rack scale designs and address the innovation that's going on there. So yes, we're bullish on the business essentially, right? So MI350 is going to be huge for the company. And additionally, another big thing that happened on the conference call is Lisa Su said MI350 is going to be ready to rock and roll mid-year, right? Which in my opinion, mid-year is basically saying second quarter. So that should start to ramp in the second quarter. Previously, they talked about MI350 would be ready kind of back half of 2025, which means the revenue story is going to get a lot more exciting on this one starting in the second quarter and then really get exciting in the third quarter and fourth quarter of this year, right? Keep in mind, this is like the first inning of the game. The really, really huge, exciting numbers really come 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029 for this company. This is just like the game's about to start, essentially. The second quarter is when the game starts. We're going to get this first quarter out of the way. Like, numbers should be fine. Cool. But the exciting game starts in the second quarter. And guess what? Second quarter is not that long from now. The second quarter starts in April. It's not that long from now, okay? We're already in February. Now, this was also very telling what happened on the conference call. This was such a ridiculous question. And this goes to show you how ridiculous Wall Street is around AMD right now, how silly they are. And Stacy Rascon asked this question, and I was kind of disappointed that Stacy even asked this. It was ridiculous. It was toward the end of the call. It was in the last few minutes. I'm listening to this call. I'm like, why would you even ask that, dude? He said, got it, thanks. And I guess for my follow-up, maybe to follow on there, do you think your exit rate on GPUs in 2025 is higher than your exit rate in 2024? Are you willing to commit to that? And Lisa Su starts laughing. She says, and Lisa Su tries to be as professional as possible, but it was such a ridiculously silly question that she actually started laughing. She said, absolutely. Yes, of course. It would be hard to grow strong double digits otherwise, right? Like, what are you talking about, dude? And so I thought that was very telling about how ridiculously silly Wall Street has gotten around AMD stock that they would even ask a question like that. I'm like, and from Stacy Rascon, I was so disappointed in him. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that's like a noob question. Like, put the numbers together and everything Lisa Su said on the call, all the information she gave you about the business up strong double digits, about MI350, and then to ask that question was so laughable. And I'm, Lisa Su, like I said, she always tries to keep it professional, but she started laughing at it, and I don't blame her. I was more disappointed than I was I thought it was a funny moment. I was just like, this is silly, okay? You're seeing articles like this today. AMD, a cool down to $100 might be coming. Who cares? Who cares? Send it to 100, send it to 55, send it to 75, send it to 85, send it to 95. Who cares? It's a huge buy the dip opportunity. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant in the end. Like all this trying to time it out and, you're catching a fallen knife. That's fine. It served me very well in the past. Some other stocks I caught some fallen knives on? Meta. I caught a lot of fallen knives on Meta back in 2022. Another stock I was buying heavily in 2022 that I caught a lot of fallen knives on was this company named Palantir. Worked out pretty decent. It was this other company I caught a lot of fallen knives on. It was this company named Tesla. You ever heard of them before? 2,700% later, it worked out pretty good, right? SoFi was this company that I remember catching a lot of fallen knives on. I could take you through a whole host of stocks. Amazon, right? You can look at a lot of the best positions in the basically almost all the positions in the public count that are now have massive gains on them, basically all of those stocks were falling knives. And I caught them, and my hands got sliced, and it was all bloody, and it was a big mess. But look how it turned out in the end. And so here we are with AMD. Oh, it's a falling knife. Careful, catch it a falling knife. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's business as usual here. Fall some more. I'll catch them all. Like, it doesn't matter to me. It means nothing because of where I believe the stock is going over the next several years. So send it to whatever price you want to send it to short term. I have doubts. I have major doubts that the stock's even going to see 100 or below 100. I will gladly welcome it. Gladly, please go to 100. Go under 100. Be my guest. I have a lot of doubts because here's the thing, okay? Is a lot of Wall Street not very intelligent? Yes. But a lot of big money is a little intelligent. And they do the research work. And guess what? All those shares that were trying to be sold today, all those people that were done with AMD and they were selling out in the morning, somebody was out there buying those shares left and right, happily, with a smile on their face. And they were gobbling them up. And actually, AMD showed a lot of strength as the trading day went along. A lot of strength. Came back to finish down, like 6% or so? You got to ask yourself, who was gobbling up all those shares? That all those sellers that were done with AMD this morning, who was gobbling them all up? Well, I could tell you one person that was gobbling up some of those shares. It was, me. I gobble up a few of them. Just 325 of them. I'm just a little fish. I'm just a little fish in a big ocean. I'm a little fish in a big, big ocean out there. But, I saw a few crumbs in that ocean. I gobbled them on up, okay? And yeah, $35,000 plus move here today on AMD. I did buy a couple other stocks, which obviously I posted inside my private stock group. They got to see that. But yeah, AMD was the big buy here today. I'm like, send it lower. I'll buy more. Like, if it goes lower, I'll buy more lower. But this morning there was, in my opinion, some very attractive pricing on this stock. And I was very, very happy to be gifted those shares. Like, that's all it was. It was just a gift. Like, when you got a company that's this quality as AMD, trading the way it was trading this morning, with the multi-year outlook this company has, and the product roadmap and everything they got going on here, well, it's fine with me. I'll be more than happy to take 325 shares off somebody's hands there, right? Now, let me take you through my bull case, base case, bear case for AMD for the next several years. We can call it 2025 through 2028, where I see the stock price going, okay? Here's my bull case. This is the exciting one, right? Which I always think it's actually more interesting to see a bear case from somebody than a bull case because it's very easy to get excited about a stock that you're buying. But what about the depressing side? What about it doesn't go good, right? Then what are the numbers, right? So here's my bull case for AMD. I have them growing revenue on average 35% per year. Now, obviously, they're not going to grow perfectly 35% every single year, right? Some years are going to be faster growth. Some years they might grow up toward 40 or 50 or 60%. Some years might be slower growth. But the moral of the story is, under my bull case, I have them growing an average of 35% revenue per year, which puts them in 2028 around $85 billion. Do I see that being realistic? Even though it's my bull case, I actually see that being pretty realistic. Given where the data center business alone should be at that particular time. And then we can talk about the client segment, right? The embedded segment should be way stronger by that particular time, right? ZT acquisition will be, long done at that time. They're still talking about ZT acquisition should go through likely in the first half of this year, if not maybe in the next few months. So I think 85 billion is definitely a possibility. It's a bullish possibility, but it's definitely a possibility. Now, net income, because they had a bunch of major one-offs in 2024, net income is going to bounce back really strong on a GAAP basis in 25, so it should be up like 200%. But then I have them even amount at about 45% per year after that, which puts them at a net income of around $26 billion in 2028. Puts them at a net income margins of around 31%, which keep in mind, NVIDIA has been 50+%. So even under my bull case, I don't have AMD even being in the same ballpark as NVIDIA when it comes to net income margins. Like, not even in the same ballpark. And that's fine. I don't need them to be to 50% plus margins. If they do that, great. I don't need them to be there. I don't need them to be at 40%. Even under my bull scenario at 31%, it's doing really, really well. Now, I put them, even for my bullish case, I put them only at a 30 and 35 PE, right? Even though you're talking about a company growing 6x, 7x, what an average stock is growing at, I still only put them at 30, 35 PE, which puts the stock in 2028 under my bull case of between about $500 a share and about $575 a share, which would give compound annual growth rate of about 45% on the low end, 51% on the high end. 2026, if we look out there, the stock price should be somewhere between 235, 274. 2027, 341 to 397. So, if you're wondering why I went ahead and put $35,000 here today, it's because I believe that $35,000 over the next 3 or 4 years is going to grow into probably between $100,000 and maybe $175,000, somewhere in there, right, over the next few years. That's why I went ahead and did it. But what about my base case and my bear case? Now, keep in mind, my base case is always like the numbers I really like truly expect the most, right? Here's my base case and bear case. So in my base case, I have them growing revenue an average of 30% per year, 2025 through 2028. 190% net income growth in 2025, and then evening out to 40% per year on average after that. Puts them once again at 31% net income margins come 2028, just on a much lower revenue base, right? $73 billion versus a bull case was around $85 billion, right? $73 billion, I think, is definitely a doable number for this company, given the product roadmap and where they'll be with their chip cycle at that particular time, right? Now, for this one, I took the PEs down to 25 to 30, which, keep in mind, 30 to 40, 30% top line, 40% bottom line is insane growth. Like, that's unbelievable growth. So 25 to 30 is really low P given those growth rates, but I'm like, oh, it's a chip company. It's just a chip company, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that puts the stock somewhere between about $358 and $430. Gives me a compound annual growth rate on the low end of 34%, high end 40% for this company. Yeah, that's pretty darn attractive. By the end of next year, that puts the stock somewhere between $183 and $219, right? So, once again, like, I can't touch those sorts of compounding annual growth rates over the coming years on the far majority of stocks. The far majority of stocks, I cannot touch these compounding annual growth rates. No. In a savings account, I can't touch that, right? Here's my bear case. My bear case, 25% revenue growth on average, 2025 to 2028. That would be extremely disappointing for this company. I mean, extremely disappointing. Given how much opportunity there is here over the next, 5 years, to be only growing 25% would be huge underperformance, and Lisa Su would have to take an L on that. That would be bad, okay? And I had them doing around 30% on average net income growth 2026 to 2028, right? Puts them at net income margins of 28% come 2028. P ratio of 20 to 25, which puts the stock somewhere between about $221 and $277 come 2028. Now, that could be how could that bear case come true? I think one of two scenarios. One is Lisa Su and the team, they just drop the ball and they just do a horrible job running the company, right? Their new chips are misses, they have problems, software problems, all types of problems, right? That's a situation how that could come to fruition, which would not be fun. The other way I could see that coming to fruition is if we had some sort of major recession in the next few years, and that recession caused the big tech companies to pull back substantially on spend, right, and on CapEx, because we're going through a big recession at that time. So meaning Google, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, all the big dogs, they're going through a tough time because the economy's in a big recession. We got unemployment at 8, 10, 12%. And so therefore they all pull back on spend big time. That's how you get there, right? And, some people believe we're not going to have a recession under Trump. That's some people's opinion. And so, if you're of that belief, then that kind of takes that out of it. So then the only way you really get there, right, is Lisa Su and the team just does a horrible job. But I think she's done a pretty damn good job over the last 10 years. Look where this company was 10 years ago. Look where it is today. We were talking about this as a bankruptcy candidate 10 years ago. And now we're talking about, is this company going to become a $1 trillion market cap someday, right? That's the debate around AMD now. So the moral of the story is here, AMD, let's go, baby, okay? Alrighty, let's react to some videos up here.
Results for its cloud business. Meta, on the other hand, closed at a new all-time high and recorded its 13th day of gains, its longest winning streak on record. So will this outperformance last? Well, the chartmaster here put out a pairs trade on just these two names today, Carter.
Yeah, so obviously these are the two big names in the sector of telecommunications, even though they're not the traditional AT&T and Verizon. And we can get right to the charts, but they've been identical really for quite some time. I think the first chart is a comparative chart, and you can see those two lines end up at the exact same point. So that is Meta versus Alphabet over the past 7-8 years. And let's look at them individually, and you'll see they have the same general trajectory. So an individual chart of Meta, you have a bull phase, you have a bear phase, it bottoms and has been moving higher since. Take a look at Alphabet or Google. Now, the question is, and the best way to look at two things is one relative to the other. It's a ratio chart, and we have that here. And so this is Meta divided by Alphabet, and that gives you a relative strength line. And what that's toying with is the prospects of finally breaking out, Meta starting to outperform Google for the first time in basically 8 years. Play for the breakout. That's the conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, from a fundamental side, I've kind of felt like Meta is going to eventually take over Google, right? The difference between Meta and Google, I think there's one really substantial difference. In that comes right from the top. One company, Sundar Pichai, good CEO, very good CEO, but he's not the founder type guy, right? Zuckerberg leads Meta. So you have different cultures. Zuckerberg is not afraid to make decisions, see something, and go, and this is what we're doing, right? And some people look at it as a negative. They're like, oh, that's reckless. Oh, he's spending so much on blah, blah, blah. And right, sometimes people don't like it and look at the metaverse whole situation, right? But the moral of the story is when you're that founder, entrepreneur type person, you just see something and you go for it. And sometimes it's going to be massive. An absolute massive opportunity. And so then Meta all of a sudden captures some huge new market that didn't even exist or people never thought Meta could capture, and all of a sudden, boom, it's like this big thing, right? And you've seen that time and time again where Meta will do that, right? Some new game-changing feature and Zuckerberg's like, we're doing that. Hey, that company over there is having success. And you've seen that time and time again, right? It goes all the way back to the acquisition. It goes all the way back to the founding of Facebook and creating, one of the most transformative websites in history, right? In Facebook. And then him seeing the vision to buy Instagram. And like now it's like, oh my gosh, like what a great purchase. At the time, everybody was questioning that. Then it goes back to WhatsApp, right? And the buying of WhatsApp. And people are like, what? 19 billion for some messaging service? What? Come on, man. Then it goes back to Threads, right? And look at how that continues to grow. On the recent conference call, they were talking about something like 1 million new users a day on Threads or something crazy, right? It goes back to even products like the Meta glasses. I mean, those have been a huge hit for the company. And so the Meta glasses are definitely, a success. Like they definitely knocked out of the ballpark. And then you look at even like features like the stories feature. That was never a thing. And then Snapchat came around, started doing, Snapchat stories. And Zuckerberg's like, saw this as a big thing. He's like, dude, we're doing that. We're going to integrate that in our products. And he did it, and it was huge. It was a great new monetization engine for the company and great new engagement engine for the company, right? And then you look at TikTok comes along, right, with kind of those short videos and that. He says, we can do that too. And he includes it in Instagram Reels and makes that more into a content machine. It's been a game changer for them. So time and time again, Zuckerberg will see something and be like, boom, we're going there, we're going to do it. And many times the companies ended up being successful. Now, that's very different than Google, right? And if you look at Google, gosh, it's just a very similar company as it was many, many years ago. Google search, YouTube, right? Shorts on YouTube seems like it's had trouble to really take off and become a huge success. And so it's just a lot of the same stuff. Android, that they've been, you look at Google 10, 15 years ago and you're like, this doesn't really seem like that different of a business. Look at the cloud business, right? And cloud business is a good, solid business for them, but let's just call it what it is. They got beat bad by Amazon and by Microsoft, right? They got beat. And then you think out to future products and things like that. And I think as the years have ticked on, Google's gotten less and less innovative, right? Because they don't have that DNA at the top to say, you know, you need a certain amount of ownership. You need a certain amount of like, you're him, like you're the guy, to really be like, dude, we're going over here, we're doing this. When you got a massive company that's got 50,000, 100,000, multi-100,000 employees, and to be like, I don't care what everybody thinks, we're going over here, we're doing this. You got to be him to do that. And Sundar's not him, no disrespect. Once again, good CEO, but he's not that guy. He doesn't have that sort of power and that sort of vision to be like, I don't care what all y'all think, we're going over here to do this massive thing, and we'll spend $20 billion doing it. No. He's more like, got to get confirmation from a ton of other executives and the board of directors, blah, blah, blah. Zuckerberg's like, you think I need to check with somebody? No. We're doing this tomorrow, right? After this DeepSeek news came out, Zuckerberg, from what I heard, he was having war room meetings with all the engineers left and right, and then, you know, doing this, doing that, looking into this. Let's get this. Like, there's no time to waste. Oh, somebody did something over here. What did they do? How'd they do it? Let's go re-engineer this. They did this. Okay. That's different, man. That's different. And so just understand there's levels to this. All right, AMD.
Double-digit growth. They want a doubling of AI business, right?
They want a lot, Caroline, that's for sure. And what they overlook is what's going on with the rest of the business. I mean, you know, look at how much share.
See, AMD, you know, and Lisa Su, she's got the power to actually pull off big things and be like, you know, she's done this a million times in the business model the last 10 years of like seeing something and be like, we're going after that. And you got to ask yourself, how does she have that sort of power when she's not the founder of AMD? The reason is when AMD brought her in to be the big dog, right, to be the chief, this was a joke company that people had cast off to go into bankruptcy. It was a stock that was in the gulag. Shortly after she took over it was under $2. When you lead a company back from death to become a giant, you have a lot of power, right? And so when you take over for a role like, let's say, an Apple or Google, I mean, you're just taking over a massive conglomerate of just a beast bunch of businesses, right? When you take over for an AMD, it was nearly on its way to bankruptcy, and you pull it out of that and you make it into this ultra successful company, you then have the power and the confidence to see something and be like, we're going over there, we're doing this. Hey, we want to buy this company. Let's go buy them. Let's do this. That's how she does it.
AMD has taken from Intel. Their data center business has nearly doubled in 2024 over 2023. It's PC client business up more than 50% for the whole year. They've done a tremendous job of really taking advantage of Intel's problems, but have been doing it by being able to develop superior chips of its own.
You're right, Joanne. They're not getting a ton of credit for that revenue beat, doubling their other unit. I'm curious if you can kind of speak to what they said about that estimate miss on the data center unit. And what does it say about AMD's standing in the AI ecosystem broadly?
That's wild. AMD basically opened around the lows and then just came back from there, right? And like I told you guys, there was just a lot of people fed up with AMD. They're like, screw AMD. I'm done with this stock. No, I don't like it anymore. And look at that. The stock literally opens at the lows, 106. And then boop, 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 boop. Who was doing all that buying? It was a whole lot more than 325 shares were bought out there today, huh? Whole lot more than that. Somebody was doing all that buying today. I can tell you that much. But, the retail noobs, they sold out right at the open, and gosh, man, what am I going to say?
Yeah, so, the problem they had with their
they get played every
was
time.
that their entry into the AI side of data center is something that's a little bit slower to roll out than people were hoping, and expectations were high heading into the quarter. And so this new chip that is expected to really push AMD into this business, more securely, and they've only just started rolling out this whole line of chips. That new chip, the MI350, isn't now expected to ramp until the second half of this year. And so consequently, their guidance was softer than expected for the data center. that doesn't take anything away from the core data center business.
What? Dude, this is why you can't trust these Wall Streeters. Did she just give out material false information?
Expectations were high heading into the quarter. And so this new chip that is expected to, really push AMD into this business, more securely, and they've only just started rolling out this whole line of chips. That new chip, the MI350, isn't now expected to ramp until the second half of this year.
No! She just talked about mid-year. Done. I'm done. Next.
Big events, you have the survey that we're going to get you over 200 CEOs.
That was literally some of the biggest news on the conference call was the whole push up of it. They were talking about second half of the year, but now they're talking about mid-year, right? My gosh.
Even more so, another 25 with a real sit-down, in-depth interview on how they are navigating this kind of environment, particularly with tech and AI. But before we get to that, let's just lay it out there. I mean, first things first, Alphabet. I got to, hit you up there. What do you think?
Well, we knew this was a bit of a rinse and repeat with Microsoft. They came up just short on the cloud number. The market reacted exactly the same way, Nicole. They were like, basically, you missed the cloud number. This starts to bring question into whether or not AI is converting to dollars quick enough. But then they came out with that $75 billion CapEx. So dollars seemed to go out of Alphabet, and then they rolled into NVIDIA and Micron and Broadcom, which are all rallying because people are saying that I guess the AI trade is still infrastructure.
It's interesting because Meta came out and had this huge CapEx spend too, but the question for Google that I was reading was there are some questions surrounding Google search, and it's long.
So people don't even understand the base of what's actually going on here with all this AI spend. They don't get it. They don't understand. Companies like Meta, companies like Amazon, for instance, let's just talk about those two. They're spending all this money on all these chips because they're building the future highways of AI. That's what they're doing. And just because you build a highway and there's not that many cars on it initially doesn't mean someday there's not going to be a ridiculous amount of cars on it. For instance, if you live in Arizona, remember when they built the Loop 303? When they built the Loop 303, even to this day, there's still not that many cars on it, right? But someday, there's going to be a massive amount of cars on it. And guess what? Every year, the Loop 303 gets busier and busier and busier. I still remember when they built the 101. When they built the Loop 101, there wasn't that many cars on it. But as the years ticked on, the Loop 101 got busier and busier and busier. And now try to go on there, during an afternoon, during the week, and it's going to be pretty dang packed on the Loop 101, is it not? When back in the day, it was a ghost town 20, 25 years ago on the Loop, right? It's totally different now. That's what's going on here with all this spend. Meta's spending all this money, Amazon's spending money, these companies are spending money because they're building the future highways that all these AI services and apps can run on, right? They're building the future highways. They're building the infrastructure. And then as the years tick on, as the quarters tick on, there's going to be more and more cars entering the highway, which is then going to benefit those companies more and more. The Metas, Amazons, all these companies that are spending all this money, right? Not all of them. I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them. That's what you got to understand. When you build a new highway, it doesn't all of a sudden get filled up with traffic overnight. That's not the way it works. It's a process. And then next thing you know, and you're like, dang, this highway has so many people driving on it every day. It's ridiculous, right? That will be like that someday. But it's a process to get there, okay? It doesn't happen overnight.
And that is sort of the wild card. At the same time, pretty much every single analyst has 220 and higher for the price target. So they all believe in this trade.
I mean, the company continues to perform extremely well. It actually beat on top and bottom, and I think it got a little bit lost in those numbers, in that cloud number. Of course, China's comments about the antitrust probe yesterday certainly probably created a little bit more consternation. And you do have to acknowledge right now that Gemini has not won considerable market share. OpenAI, Anthropic, others. And we know that Search 2.0, the next era of search, is going to be generative. So Google has to prove that they can convert their search customers to generative.
Right, understood. So are you a fan of Google, or you want to wait and see?
No, I'm pretty optimistic about it. I feel like they have a real moat. Like, the amount of CapEx they're going to have to spend, they need to convert customers, but like, are people really going to, especially because of the built-in install base on device, on iPhones, on Android devices, like, are they going to leave? Or if they put good generative features into their tool, people are going to be like, oh, this is good, and they're going to stay.
People are very comfortable with their Google and having that on their phones. We also have been focusing on names like AMD, which has a down arrow today, Qualcomm, which is due out. Some of your thoughts there?
AMD, the fatal mistake, because the numbers were good. Record revenue, huge data center growth, almost 70%, but they didn't hit the data center growth people wanted. And then they didn't guide on Instinct. And Instinct is their sort of NVIDIA competitive AI accelerator. And the fact that, we have $100+ billion of expected revenue next year for NVIDIA, and they were at about $5 billion for AMD this year, I think people wanted AMD to come out and say, like, we're going to double again next year. Not saying anything, they were punished. Sometimes you don't give...
It's not true. That's not true. They didn't give a specific guidance, sure, but they didn't not say anything on the call. I just showed you word for word what Lisa Su said. She's talking about that business scaling to tens of billions in the next couple years. Her words. So to act like she said nothing on the subject is ridiculous. Did they give a specific guidance? No. But to say she said nothing on it is ridiculous. Listen to the conference call. But I guess people don't listen to conference calls, right? All right, what are they doing? Watching Netflix?
And you don't get punished. This was one of those cases where everybody took this as a negative.
And then ARM and Amazon. You also talked about cloud providers, and you had names that you're watching for growth like ServiceNow and Salesforce and Oracle. What names? You had Workday in here. I mean, you're following all of these all at the same time. What names do you think are best bets for investors based on all the research? You have a huge team now at this point.
I'm spending a lot of time. I just came back from Davos, and the optimism of these CEOs is incredible. I spent time, Qualcomm today. I spent time with CEO Cristiano Amon. The DeepSeek moment, while there's a lot of inaccuracies in how that was reported, and a lot to still uncover about its impact, the DeepSeek impact is we need to find a way to do AI for less money. We need to use less energy. So, for instance, Qualcomm being able to put it all on device. This is also beneficial long-term for Apple. Their Apple Intelligence has flopped, but the idea is Apple devices are everywhere. So people are going to need to do AI somewhere. So companies where that is happening is really encouraging to me. The other part is the Apple.
Which ones are they?
Well, Qualcomm. I mean, I definitely think they basically every high-end smartphone, they have a play. And then, of course, Apple, like I said, the install base. So while Apple, I think, has gone too high, too far, too fast without showing anything for AI, at the same time, they have that install base. And you can't overlook that, because eventually all this AI has to be consumed somewhere, Nicole.
I know sometimes they just say, look, you just can't deny the obvious, right? Everybody has an iPhone, or, with Meta, how many users there are. I mean, you could discount this or discount that, but everybody's on board, right? Let's talk about the CEO survey here. Very interesting. A lot about these organizations, and you're looking at decision-making, culture, management, AI going forward. What were some of the themes and takeaways from over 210 CEOs speaking with you?
Yeah, these are 210 companies with over $1 billion of revenue. So big companies with big challenges to move fast with AI. And all of them kind of came to a few different big, meaningful conclusions. And I validated this through some longer form conversations. And then, of course, the conversations I had with CEOs in Davos, like Chuck Robbins from Cisco and like Cristiano Amon from Qualcomm. They're all trying to deal with the speed of which this is rolling out from an infrastructure standpoint. But the difficulty is that in the culture of company, and by the way, you and I have probably witnessed this for 2 or 3 decades as technology is rolled out. It comes really fast. We want everyone to use it. We say, hey, we're going to get $4 trillion of gains in productivity and efficiencies. Well, if you're the worker that's actually touching the keyboard and doing that function, how excited are you about the idea of something that might do your job for you? So companies are kind of having this push-pull right now of go fast, gain productivity, and at the same time, the employees are saying, what happens to me when this workload, when this function gets automated? And CEOs are really in the middle of this where they have to keep showing growth. They have to keep delivering to shareholders, but they're always up against that.
The monetization of AI is just the AI race. The monetization of AI is the endless conversation for everyone I speak to and how they're going to make this work, right?
Yeah, well, if I can give a simple sort of, in response to DeepSeek, everyone goes, is training over? Is AI over? The bottom line is we are just seeing the end of kind of pre-training and training as the buoy for infrastructure. Inference, now you hear about agents, you hear about assistants.
Yeah.
We are going to have trillions of concurrent tokens or concurrent consumption of AI use cases going on in these software applications, all generating dollars. And there's going to be a cost, which we're trying to get down, and there's going to be money to be made. And that's why I love the application providers like the Microsofts, like the...
You know what I love? I love that Amazon Prime driver that just showed up to my neighbor's house and was running with the package. Let's see if they run back right now. They were literally running with the package. I'm like, I like that, man. Oh, they're running back. Let's freaking go, baby. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. As an Amazon shareholder, let's freaking go, baby. They ran the package up there. They ran back to the truck. That's what I'm talking about. That's why Amazon stays winning. Okay, let's see. Oh, they're pulling away fast. Oh my gosh. Let's see what happens here. Oh shit. They're driving fast. They better not hit a kid on the way out. Holy smokers, that ain't no joke.
Nows, like the Salesforces, because eventually we need the tools that can do all this stuff. Most companies don't want to build it. Most companies want to consume it. They want to get more efficiency in their business, and they want to get more productivity to deliver returns to their shareholders.
And look, you have OpenAI already with agents. I was talking with Jessica Inskip, and she was saying about this, and she was looking to Google and just saying, look, just wait. You know, you mentioned Gemini, but, you know, that we're going to have agents who are going to make your manicure appointment or, you know, whatever, your doctor's appointment, and that will be the wave of the future.
Yeah,
right.
It's going to get simplified. My hair appointments are going to get done very, very promptly. But you're going to be able to basically interact with search.
I didn't say barber. I picked doctor. I thought that was
I know,
good.
but I'm having a little fun with it. Yeah, you're going to be able to automate a lot of your life just by having a conversation with a bot that's going to do a lot.
He's like, don't flirt with me. I like that other guy that was here. Remember the one guy? He looked like he would be in the back of an Italian restaurant. Remember that guy with the gold everything? Remember him?
Things that give us convenience.
And so that being said, now at this point, the tech play.
He had a big trunk, you know, in his car. Remember him? Remember him from a few weeks ago?
Many of these, look, Amazon, just, you know, end of January, we saw Amazon new all-time high, Meta new all-time high. Granted, some of these names are pulling back some a bit now. The Mag 7, you buy into that group? I mean, do you buy them all? You mentioned Apple as a winner. I mean,
Apple will be. I actually don't love them near term. I think Meta might be the most consequential company. I've said this on the planet right now a few times. They have 3.3 billion people that use one of their apps every single day, and they are the best customer zero case. So while they're spending $65 billion in infrastructure, they make money on that investment, and I think people want to see that from the Microsofts and Googles. I think Amazon's advertising business has been incredibly impressive. People don't talk about it much. They always talk about cloud because that's where all the money gets made.
Yeah.
But they're creating more and more moats. Look, the big companies are going to keep getting bigger. I think the current administration, all the kind of the tariff of tariffs that's going on out there is basically going to be near term. And these big companies are going to be permitted to invest and grow. And I think the economy is going to be good for the next few years.
You have a TikTok?
More and more of these Wall Streeters are definitely jumping on the Meta bandwagon. And you can see it in the price action. Like, you know, Meta hits another all-time high here today. Like, they're more and more jumping on. You know, where were they at 2.5 years ago when Meta was less than $100 a share? Where were they at?
For 10 seconds? What happens there?
My kids love it. I'm not a big user of it. I think a JV gets done. I think a JV gets done. I think it continues.
With a company, not our sovereign wealth fund.
Oh, the sovereign wealth fund. I don't know what will happen there. I think it'll be an Oracle or a Microsoft.
Okay. All right. And I don't have it on my phone, so tell your kids I'm glad they like it, and my kids like it too. Okay, thank you, Daniel Newman of the Futurum Group, and a great look with that collaborative study with the Carney Group. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you know, I've heard Microsoft could be the leading company to buy TikTok. I'm just trying to figure out, like, does it make sense? And I'm also trying to think, like, would they run TikTok well? I'm starting to think, like, I'm starting to worry about them having their hands in too many things, Microsoft, right? Because they've done so many acquisitions. Obviously, they own Xbox. They did the acquisition of Activision Blizzard a few years ago, right? which Activision own King Digital, which owns a bunch of mobile games. Like, they're so all over the place now. I'm just like, yeah, I would not mind my Amazon to buy them out. I don't know if that's going to happen, but yeah, I wouldn't mind Amazon buying them out. That would be powerful, because then we could say two of the biggest positions in public count, Meta and Amazon, would basically control like all of social media almost, which would be pretty epic. Okay. Alrighty, guys, appreciate you joining me as always. Thanks you so much for being here. Thank you for being subscribed to the channel. Valentine's Day sale, one day only. 1000xstocks.com. If you want to enter in to receive that sale via email, text, when the sale does drop, then you can click the pinned comment down there, enter in your info, and we'll go ahead and send over the deal when it drops. It is going to be a one-day sale for 1000xstocks.com. Much love and have a great day.